You come around the corner with a good pan or a tall stack of plates, and it slips just for a second. It catches the edge of the dining table on the way down, the table that was your mother's or her mother's before that. And when you look, there it is, a dent, a little crushed dimple pressed right down into the wood, pale and ugly, staring up at you from a top that didn't have a mark on it an hour ago. And your heart just sinks, because you figure that's permanent now. You'll have to live with it, or smear some filler in there that never quite matches the grain, or call somebody to sand the whole top down and refinish it, and pay $200 or $300 for the privilege. Or worst of all, you start thinking maybe it's time to just replace the old thing. Well, don't you do a single one of those things, because that dent isn't damaged the way you think it is. And with a household iron and a damp rag, two things you already own, you can make that wood rise right back up and close that dent almost like it never happened. Let me show you the whole of it. I'm Artie Sterling. Let me be straight with you right up front, so you know whose workbench you're leaning on. I taught high school shop class for 30 years. Spent my life watching how wood behaves, how it takes a knock, and how, more often than folks ever realize, it can undo one. And this is the trick that used to make my students' jaws drop every single time, because it looks like pure magic, but it isn't magic at all. It's just knowing one true thing about wood that most people were never taught. So here's the one idea. Get this, and the rest is easy. A dent is not a hole. That's the whole thing right there. When you scratch wood or gouge it, you tear fibers loose and carry them away. That wood is gone for good. But when you dent wood, when something drops on it or presses down into it, you don't take any wood away at all. You just crush it, squash it flat. Think of wood like a tight bundle of thousands of tiny drinking straws, all standing on end, packed together, because that's near enough what it actually is if you put it under a glass. Little hollow cells, like straws. When something dents the surface, it doesn't break those straws. It just mashes them down flat, like stepping on an empty box. And here's the beautiful part, the part the old-timers knew. Crushed wood remembers its shape. Give those flattened little cells what they want, water and heat, and they'll drink that water up, swell back out, and stand right back up where they started. The dent lifts itself. You're not filling anything. You're not sanding anything. You're just waking the wood back up and letting it do what it wants to do anyway. Now let me be honest with you about when this works and when it won't, because I'll never sell you a miracle. This works on a dent, crushed wood. It will not work on a gouge or a deep scratch where the wood is torn out and gone, because there's nothing left there to swell back up. Here's how you tell the two apart. Run your fingernail gentle across the mark. If the wood's just pressed down smooth into a little valley, that's a dent, and it'll come back for you. If you feel torn edges, splinters, wood actually missing, that's a gouge, and that's a different job for another day. And one more honest word. This works best on bare wood or old wood with a worn oil finish on it. If your table's got a thick, hard, shiny, modern coat, the plasticky kind they spray on things now, that finish keeps the water from ever reaching the wood, and the heat can cloud it up on you. A piece like that, you've got more to think about. But on most any older piece, and on any bare wood, this works like a charm. So here's how you do it. First, wipe the dent clean. Then put a few drops of plain water right down into it, and give it a minute to soak in. Now fold up a cotton cloth. An old dish towel is perfect. Get it good and damp, not dripping, and lay it right over the dent. Heat up your household iron, hot as it'll go, and turn the steam on if it's got it. Set that iron down on the damp cloth right over the dent and press. Move it in slow little circles, just a few seconds at a time, then lift it off and have a look. You'll hear the water working. That hiss, that little cloud of steam, is the whole trick happening. That steam is driving down into the wood and swelling those crushed cells. Re-wet the cloth and go again. A few seconds. Lift, check. Little by little, you'll watch that dent rise up out of the wood, shallower and shallower with each pass until it's near gone. A deep dent might take you 10 or 12 passes. A shallow one comes up in 2 or 3. When it's risen as far as it'll go, let it dry all the way out. Now, the water may have raised the grain a touch, left it feeling a little fuzzy. That's normal. Don't fret. Once it's bone dry, give it the lightest sanding with a fine paper, then a little dab of oil or wax to blend it back in, and you'll never find where that dent was. 2 cautions, and you heed them both. Keep that cloth damp the whole time. A dry cloth under a hot iron will scorch your wood, and now you've traded a dent for a burn. And never set that hot iron down and walk off. This is a stand there and mind it job, not a walk away one. I'll tell you when I knew this trick was worth its weight. A neighbor lady came to me one afternoon, near in tears, carrying a little side table that had been her mother's. Somebody'd dropped a heavy jar of preserves square on the top of it, and there was a dent in the walnut the size of a quarter. She figured it was ruined. 60 years in the family. Ruined in one careless second. So I sat her down at my kitchen counter, laid a wet rag and my wife's iron on it, and inside 10 minutes that dent came up out of the walnut like it had never been there. She ran her thumb over the spot 3 times looking for it, and she couldn't find it. That's a good afternoon, folks. Handing somebody back a piece of their own history they thought was gone for good. Why does everybody think a dent means the piece is ruined? Because we've been taught little by little that everything is disposable, that a mark or a ding means a thing is used up and it's time to go buy another. There's a fellow who'll charge you $300 to refinish that whole tabletop. There's a rack at the store full of filler sticks and touch-up crayons that never match the grain right. And there's a whole furniture showroom betting you'll just give up and buy new. But there's nobody anywhere making a dime by telling you the plain truth, that the wood was never ruined at all. It was only crushed, and crushed wood heals. The knowing of it just quietly slipped away while the rest of us learned to throw things out. So here's what I'd ask of you. Go find a dented piece somewhere in your house, an old table, a windowsill, a wooden chair, a dresser with a ding in the top, something with a dent you always figured was there for good. Get out the iron and a wet rag and lift it right back out. Then come down to the comments and tell me it rose. And tell me this, what's the one piece of furniture in your house you'd carry out in a fire? The one with all the history soaked into it? I'd truly like to hear about it, and I read every word. And the next time we sit down at this bench, I'll show you what to do about a screw that's the opposite of loose, one that's stripped so bad in the head that your screwdriver just spins right out of it, and it won't back out no matter what you try. You don't need to drill it out. You don't need to buy a fancy extractor. All you need is a common rubber band. I'll show you the whole of it. So go find that dent and watch your wood heal itself. Keep it simple, keep it cheap, and do it right the first time. The old folks knew wood was a forgiving thing, and we're going to remember it together.